What's up, YouTube? This is your friendly neighborhood movie nerd, back to give you guys everything that is going on in the world of movies and TV, and this one's a tough one. Just for the simple fact that, you know, misleading marketing campaigns and just, I'll let the review speak for itself. This is my review for Gringo.
Mexico. That's Harold.
Harold?
Gringo.
You really believe in God?
Of course I believe in God. What kind of person does not believe in God?
I guess I kinda do, but not.
So Gringo is directed by Nash Edgerton, that's Joel Edgerton's brother, and it stars David Oyelowo as Harold Soyinka. He's a down-on-his-luck corporate employee who is facing a possible job termination due to a company merger spearheaded by the two heads of the company, Richard, played by Joel, and Elaine, played by Charlize Theron. The company is developing a medical marijuana pill and is planning on pulling its development from their facility in Mexico. But when the cartels, whom the company have been doing under-the-table business with, find out, they attempt to have Harold kidnapped so that he can get them the formula for the pill so they can make it themselves. And when this happens, Richard hires his brother Mitch, played by Charlton Copley, an ex-mercenary, to get Harold back. And the film proceeds from one absolutely batshit scenario to another. Alright, so this film really is a weird one. It's got a very strange dichotomy because on the one hand, the movie is entertaining as hell and it is so supremely well acted and engaging and just nutso and just crazy to watch that you can't help but be entertained. But on the other hand, good God, the story and this script is a fucking mess. This story is jumbled all the way to high hell. The inciting incident, that doesn't happen until at least almost halfway through the movie. The entire second act, I am barely following what's going on, and there's a million different subplots that just have little to nothing to do with the main story that are all over the place. Like I said, however, what this movie lacks in story, it more than makes up for with character beats and entertaining performances. David Oyelowo, he might just have given his best performance of his career because this is one of the most down-to-earth, likable people that you have ever seen, and you just feel so bad for this guy because almost his entire life has just been him getting screwed after him getting screwed after him getting screwed. And there's also the fact of not only is it finally a situation where he's taken some control in his life, but he also actually turned out to be really surprisingly resilient and quick thinking. Like, there's this one scene in here where he ends up finally getting kidnapped by the cartel, and he ends up reacting in a way that you would never actually believe, mostly because it never happens in movies. And it's just, if it were any other character, he would just be whimpering and crying. But this guy, it's almost like it's totally the opposite of what the marketing told you, which again is a lot of what happens in this movie. But besides Oyelowo, all the supporting players do a supremely good job. For me, the three standouts are Edgerton, Theron, and Copley, because all three of them do such an amazing job. They're just some of the worst people on the face of the planet, but all in just different ways, and it's so incredibly ludicrous to the point of almost unbelievability that it just makes you almost forget about the problems with this story, because you got Edgerton, who is just a slimy playboy who's patting you on the back with one hand and then completely screwing you over with the other. Theron, she's the corporate executive who just gives no fucks. Like, she's probably the most entertaining that I've ever seen her, simply for the fact that she just does not care about anyone or anything and will screw over anyone to get her way. But she's also got a lot of surprisingly deep-laden insecurities that she plays to, and it actually ends up giving her character a lot more depth than I would have thought. And then you got Charlton Copley, who is, you could tell he was a deranged maniac at one point, and he's trying his hardest to change who he is, but he just can't do it because that's just who he is as a person. And it's just, all these different little tidbits just make these characters so much more rich and fleshed out than I possibly could have thought. Entertaining as these characters are to watch, however, these story beats, good God, like, I really want to like this movie, and I really want to give this movie much more points for where it is good, but good God, like, so besides this being a very misleading marketing campaign, because this turned out to be a lot darker than I thought. Like, the trailers pitch this movie as like the next super zany, well-written comedy, and it ends up being like a really black, depressing, dark comedy, a lot more so than I thought. And once they get to Mexico, the characters, this story just flies completely off the rails, because besides the fact that Harold, it turns out he actually isn't kidnapped at first. I mean, he does later on, but there's a lot more that goes into him getting there, and there's a lot more into the story that wasn't shown in the trailer, and then there's this entire subplot involving Richard, Elaine, and then Harold's wife, played by Fanny Newton, that ends up having kind of almost nothing to do with the story. And then on top of that, so Amanda Seyfried, you saw her all over the trails. As it turns out, her entire storyline, it almost feels like it's a completely different movie that you're watching that just randomly crosses over at points, and the resolution, it's barely a resolution. I still have no idea. You could have cut that entire storyline from the movie, and it would not have made one lick of a difference. I really wanted to give this movie a lot more credit than I can, but this story is just so all over the place, and there are points that I just can't keep track, that it ends up taking away a lot of that initial enjoyment that I got, which really sucks because the good parts of this movie are friggin' fantastic. And while I will say that the performances end up being extremely entertaining to watch, it ends up really making this movie a mess. So unfortunately, I can only give this movie 5.5 out of 10 stars. So that's my review for Gringo, and don't worry, I am still just as torn up about this movie as you guys hopefully are. So let me know what you thought in the comments below. Be sure to click the like button and the subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter at Movie Nerd Review. Also head on over to my website, movienerdreviews.com. That is it. I will see you guys next time.